Are you a student or someone who is trying to learn about oral communication? Or perhaps you're just curious to know how a successful communication happens. Hi, I'm Teacher Markee, and this video is perfect for you. Communication is one of those things that people find easy to talk about because, well, we communicate every day. We talk with our brothers and sisters, with our parents, and other family members, friends, or even with ourselves. And we do this face to face and sometimes virtually. That's how amazing communication is. Today's short lecture will focus on three things: the definition of communication, the nature of communication, and the process and elements of communication. Let's get started. For starters, let's define communication. What really is communication? Well, communication has been defined by various experts in the academic arena. But did you know that the word communication actually comes from the Latin word communis, which means working together? One particular definition that stands out is that of McCornack's in 2014. He's the gentleman on your screen. He says that communication is the process of sharing and conveying messages or information from one person to another within and across channels, contexts, media, and cultures. So to better understand communication, it would be helpful to know its nature and characteristics. According to various experts in the communication field, communication has different characteristics and nature. First off, communication is a dynamic process, meaning it is ever-changing and ever-moving. Factors such as people, situations, language elements, and many more may contribute to such changes. Next is, communication is systemic. It consists of parts and elements that make up its whole, and all of these elements interrelate with one another to make the system work. Another characteristic is communication involves stakeholders. When I say stakeholders, I mean communicators or the parties involved in the communication process. This simply means that in order for a successful communication to happen, both the speaker and the receiver should send and receive messages simultaneously. Another important nature of communication is that it is irreversible. If something has already been communicated, communicators have no way to go forward, and they move from one specific moment to the next. That's why we can't take back the words that we've already said. Next, communication is proactive. How we interact with one another is greatly influenced by our own physical, psychological, emotional, and mental makeup. We decide whether we want to communicate or not. Next is, communication is a symbolic interaction. Communicators use language, which is made up of symbols, which are assigned with many different meanings. As humans, we primarily use those to interact with one another. And lastly, in communication, meaning is individually or uniquely construed. Each of us interprets what we see, read, or hear differently. How we assign meanings is heavily influenced by our unique experiences, beliefs, attitudes, values, and culture. Now that we know what communication means, let's talk about its different elements and how they work together to achieve successful communication. Generally speaking, communication has 9 key elements. The speaker, which is the main source of information or the message. A message could be any piece of information, ideas, thoughts, feelings, or emotions that the speaker wants to convey. The message then goes through the encoding process, in which the speaker converts the message into words, actions, and other understandable forms. The encoded message is then conveyed through a medium or a channel, which can be personal or non-personal, verbal or non-verbal. Once a channel has been decided and the message has been sent to the recipient, the decoding process takes place. The receiver of the message interprets and makes meaning out of the message that has been relayed. In return, the recipient provides feedback, which could be any reaction, response, comment, or suggestion. Another important thing to consider when communicating is the context. This refers to the specific environment, condition, or situation where communication happens. Different contexts require different approaches. And there are instances wherein communication does not and could not flow as smoothly as the communicators would want it to. Imagine a student trying to listen and understand a lecture being delivered by his teacher in a classroom packed with 50 other students who are talking at the same time. Or perhaps a telephone conversation being interrupted by an intermittent signal. These factors affecting the flow of communication are called barriers. Noise and connectivity issues are perfect examples of barriers. Communicating with someone is as easy as it is challenging. As shown in the illustration, successful communication often requires all the elements to interact smoothly and seamlessly to achieve understanding and success. One or a couple of elements missing or overlooked could mean failure in getting your message across. Now, I want you to look back and think of a time when you've experienced smooth and good communication, or bad or miscommunication.